Hello again, I'm Betsy Mawdsley. I am the lead physiotherapist for the Bristol City Women's football team. And today we are going to again treat our sports scientist, poor Molly, on top of having issues with her ankle. We are currently working through shin splints. So traditionally what we would do is actually just use a compression model or look at the cause supporting the foot, often our athlete. The one I'm going to show you today is an athlete who just does not like compression through that calf. No matter how loose or how open you put it, they're saying, I don't want that, but they just need a little bit of support through that shin, sometimes even just a little bit of comfort. So in that case, we use our Tiger K tape and we always color match to the socks just in case. So we're thankful for quite a range of colors there. And what we do is we do a very lovely patient tape job with our athlete. So we'll start with our spray, coming along there. We'll let it air out a little bit. And then what I'm actually gonna ask Molly to do is come up and, bend your knee. How are those hamstrings going? Awesome. So from this position, I'm putting it here so I can be nice and soft. And our whole goal here is to say, if we're in that true shin splint that we don't think we can fix at the foot, we want to say she's got quite a bit of irritation here. So we want to take that tape and pull it closer towards the bone to just give her a little bit of comfort. And so what we do is we take our tape, and here's some I prepared before. Strips here. Short and small. I probably cut every strip a little bit different, but I'm looking around the size of my hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a nice little layered pattern all the way up. And this is why I say this is a little bit of a patient tape job. And so if your athlete doesn't like it, it is also nice because you can throw some compression on top over it. So what we'll do is we'll start right at her malleolus, and this is why we want her in that bent position. So now I can say, hey, so I don't have to pull the tape overly tight. I'm gonna use my thumb and just put a little pressure there and then walk it along, giving us nice long levers. And this is where I say, you probably cut these about half the length, but here we are. So we're gonna start along that position again, and I'm just gonna encourage that muscle over to the bone, ideally overlapping by half. We could go a little shorter on that one. Good. And the nice thing here is if you're trying to create a little pressure in one system, you can change the position of the foot here. And also, because this does take a minute, your athlete's generally a little more comfortable in this position. Okay? Good. Beautiful. And then just nice and loose over there. So it's basically like you're making a little shin guard. I always like long levers because then I can trim them if I make wrinkles. Good. And again, I'm always, instead of pulling the skin, trying to push the muscle to the bone, coming across, okay? And then after I find, once we've gotten down in those lower small areas, now is where I get to start coming up into my bigger pieces here. All the way up, good. And this is where, you should probably cut more pieces than you think you need. So we're gonna work this all the way up to the shin in this lovely position. Good. So yeah, once I get about halfway, I'll usually go slightly bigger pieces here. Good. Round your corners, just so that you can have a very big mess to clean up at a later date. Good. And then what I'm going to do is again come through here, and I'm trying to come nice and close. So again, sit here, overlap by half. Pull and go through there, okay? And again, this is not gonna stop the shin splint from happening. This isn't really a great case in a very severe, and you still need to often address the causes, but sometimes I find when we're at the point where that athlete's they're just uncomfortable and we need to get them moving, this can just give them that little piece of additional comfort. Good. Outside of football, this is also really nice in ice hockey players, just to give that nice little shout out to Canadaland, because we have a shin guard to put underneath, because as we know, our athletes' shin guards are probably about that big. Beautiful, okay? Good. Awesome, good. And I'll usually stop about there, because we're into that bone and we want to watch that femoral nerve position. Good. Now, if for some reason this athlete's walking around without a sock, I'll put some closing pieces, but usually our education is then to put right away into their sock to get going, and we get them moving from there. And then the nice thing about this tape job is if you do need to add an arch support or an additional heel position, it's easy to stack that on top of this without having to change this whole setup. And that's that one.